Well, hello there. It's the flurry of activity right before the countdown comes to it. We can see a big number on the screen, and we still are caught unawares every single time. But what? Sorry,
I was saying that's my bad. I didn't put the timer up for y'all.
I mean, you gave us a 40-second warning. We were still.
Yeah. We don't pay attention. We don't listen.
We don't. Yeah. So anyway, welcome to Merge Roundtable. It's great. It's going to be a lot of fun today. And I put fun in air quotes because every single story on this list has ticked me off at some point during the week. We're going to talk about, we now need to take classes on how to lock our cars. That's awesome. Cynthia Lummis, who is supposedly a pro-crypto senator as maybe turned anti-crypto. We can't tell. We're going to talk about that. JP Morgan says there's $1 billion a day going through its crypto coin. What's that about? That's interesting. And Worldcoin, Mark's favorite coin on the market. Yeah, so I'm here with Mark Schutt, and I'm here with Dina, and we're going to get into it right after this. Yeah, so we're also live streaming on your Instagram today?
On my Twitter today.
On your Twitter.
It's the first time. It's a little late notice, so I'm sure, we'll get like some random people, but for future, I definitely want to start doing it more and announcing it beforehand because I feel like I have a pretty good community there.
That's awesome.
So we're also on TikTok Live, and we've gone between like 3 viewers and like 200. I don't know where we're at right now.
Oh,
yeah.
it's TikTok.
Yeah.
It's all over the
What a
place.
platform.
Yeah. Interesting.
China.
China.
Gotta love it. I'm kidding. I don't care.
Gotta love my China. All right. So where do we want to start with all those stories today? The big meaty one is the Cynthia Lummis story. So I don't know if we want to jump right into that or not.
I would say the car.
The car?
Yeah. What do you
I'm
think?
unaware of this car situation,
Yeah, I'm
so
not
put me
scared,
on.
so I'm always scared here.
My main car that is worth real money is a Hyundai. And that's the car that we're talking
Your
about.
car worth real money.
Yeah, no, I've got like an old.
Not crypto.
Yeah.
Real money.
Well, it's the third. I bought it new. I paid in cash. It's not my like '95 Ford truck. It's the car that my wife wanted to drive. So she wanted a car that had like airbags.
So
and
not
stuff.
your car.
Not airbags. No. She wanted airbags.
I ride a bike most of the time. I don't even care. But yeah, no. So Hyundai has holding clinics around the country on essentially how to lock your car.
Wow.
Because, so apparently Hyundais are a highly sought after car for thieves, and it's very easy to use like their little remote lock and unlock thing. It's easy for hackers to get into your car and then remote start it or do whatever they need to do to take your car from you. So they had to issue a software update. The problem is no one knows how to do a software update on their car. So they are holding clinics in major American cities and doing like remote Zoom clinics for people that don't live in like New York and LA on how to update the software on your Hyundai. And I think that's just great.
It's crazy to think like our world has become so technologically advanced that you have to hold clinics just to know how to lock your car nowadays. It's kind of crazy.
Yes.
That's one way to frame it.
Yes.
I actually don't even lock my car, whether it's...
What?
I just don't.
If they take it, they take
I feel
it.
they take it, we'll find it, or the insurance will take care of it.
It's almost better they take it.
Yeah. But no, I need to do. I know, like when I just purchased a car like a year ago, and they try to walk me through how to get my phone, like download an app and have the phone linked to the car just in case I ever lock my keys in there or I lose my key. And yeah, I haven't done that. It's just too much work. But you were saying that if you plug your phone up to the car,
oh yeah.
your data is...
This is a story that's a couple weeks older, but like I follow privacy stories, obviously, and there was a privacy watchdog, like security audit group that put out a report that said of all the devices that are in our personal orbit, cars are the biggest privacy nightmare that exists. Because like what happens if you have a newer car and you plug your phone in, it starts downloading all your contacts and syncs your call logs. Well, you know one place where it's going. It's going in your car into that little computer that any hacker can just pop your hood and get out. right? So if you are worried about surveillance or Big Brother, don't park your car in an open space. Don't put it in a parking lot because someone could just pop the hood and take all your data.
Oh, my data's not worth anything, so it's okay.
Yeah, same.
No one,
Take it.
it's not worth anything. But let's say, I mean, nobody here at this table has ever been falsely accused of a crime or been under investigation. Or had family members that have been falsely accused of a crime or been under investigation, and then some intelligence organization just says,
Actually,
"Okay, we're
you're
going to pop
right,
the hood
yeah.
and pull all your data and look at all
Yeah.
your call metadata."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You're right.
and that's something that wouldn't require a warrant for, or probably could argue their way out of requiring a warrant
because
for.
you never know who they
It's
send over.
it's in an open space. There was no expectation of privacy. I mean, some sort of argument would be made like that.
Kind of crazy to think about.
Very,
Scary.
Mark always has
yeah. So
stories to make sure you go
thought-provoking,
home and freak out.
right,
I don't know how to protect my kids at this point.
It's impossible.
flood the zone. Just put all
That's
kinds
interesting. I wonder if other brands of car or other vehicles, that will start doing the same with the, the
like
Zoom and
software updates and all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
Well, I mean, like I can't imagine that like cars like Teslas are very far behind. I mean, the Teslas are
Really?
far more integrated with the computer system than any other car on the road, right?
For
I mean,
sure.
you don't even have a dashboard. It's like a big giant like iPad thing.
Wait, what do you mean far behind? Like, there's just so much information.
I think you said far behind, but you meant the
Oh,
other
oh,
way
ahead.
around, right?
Okay,
Oh, I was
Far
like, yeah, I
ahead,
got
right?
confused.
Far ahead, yeah.
Sorry.
But like, and they've also got like I don't know, just like Michael Scott. I just say words and I don't know what
Yeah,
the sentence is going to
technical
be until I
difficulties.
finish it. So
Well, you were talking about other car brands. This came from the TikTok trend. Like, it's probably 2 years old now. It was over COVID of people stealing Kias and Hyundais because of a vulnerability in that system.
Oh.
So it's specific to those two at
Yeah.
least.
Gotcha. Is it because they're overseas vehicles? They're not American based?
I mean, I just think
No.
so. Hyundai
like, no
and
way.
Kia
Like,
are both Korean brands, right? So it could be just a common supplier or software thing.
I'm sure it has more to do with like the tech side and how these vehicles are just
Yeah.
becoming more and more technological. I mean, I'm sure, you think about what you're saying. It's like, so does that mean every time I plug in my phone to Apple CarPlay, then Apple's getting all my information like from my car, or vice versa? The car company's getting all my information from Apple, like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that is.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely. I know
Yeah.
when I got in a car accident, they pulled out something from the vehicle where it tells you, of course, how fast I was going.
What's it called? Black box,
Yeah, the
right?
black box.
Mm-hmm.
So now with all this technology that's going on, I can't imagine them not having
Yeah.
more information.
For sure.
But they might even have a camera in there we don't know about. See if you're on your phone or not.
You know, speaking of cameras, I heard that the iPhone takes a picture
Yes.
of you every
Every
30 or 5 seconds.
I heard it's 5 seconds.
Did not hear that. It's
They've
just-
seen some ugly pictures of me then.
They've
so-
seen some wild pictures of me. Like, I'll be fucking on the toilet with my thing just
I
right there. I'm watching.
They've
like,
seen it all.
crazy.
Oh my god.
But where
Yeah.
does that go? Is it like a Face ID thing? Or?
Apparently, the reason they do that is for security, which is absolute bullshit. But they say that they do it every 5 seconds to, make a comprehensive analysis that the person who's using the phone is supposed to be you. But what does that even mean? Because if somebody else is using my phone, are they going to lock my phone automatically?
Have
well,
you guys,
no.
Did you watch Black Mirror, that episode? You made me watch that. That was
Yes.
you. There was an episode of where they remade an entire show based on that character because of the phone. Like they see you all day long through your phone, and they made an entire production.
Wait, I think I did, and then also they recorded it, but the person didn't know or want it, right? And it was
Yeah.
multiple people.
It was multiple people, but it was
ruined
almost
their lives,
live.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a couple hours behind or whatever. Yeah,
But
it's that
they're
most
seeing
recent
everything
season.
through the phone.
Yeah,
So
I think I've seen that one. That's crazy.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt that it might be happening. So
sure
Just
it is.
don't do anything wrong and you're good.
okay, fine.
Scott McNeely from Oracle 20 years ago said
That's not
privacy is dead. Get over it.
It's true. George Orwell would be like, "I told you so." He'd be like, "I told you so."
Well, So J.P. Morgan.
I want to do a George Orwell counter.
Please.
Sorry, separate point.
Right.
Please. Wait, counter?
Just
Like
yeah,
how many? Like
times we mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
A lot.
Sorry, J.P. Morgan.
So J.P. Morgan. So do you remember J.P. Coin? Were you following crypto stuff whenever J.P. Coin was announced? This is actually during the last bull run.
I mean, probably I've heard of when you first mentioned it, I was like, what's that? I've never heard of it. But if it was in the last bull run, I probably know of it.
Remember the Jamie Dimon Bitcoin is a scam incident?
Yeah,
Okay.
when he went on the news and said that. Meanwhile, on the back end, they were buying.
They were the single largest buyer of Bitcoin that particular day.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Did not get charged with front running at any.
Yeah.
Okay, so that J.P. Morgan, that news cycle, actually that bull run cycle, the same within months of that, announced that they were going to create a intra-bank transfer cryptocurrency called JP Coin.
Oh.
And they have been using it for intra-bank settlements since then. They are now saying that over $1 billion a day are being settled using JP Coin for intra-bank transfers. $1 billion a day.
So that's $1 billion a day between different banks who are settling transactions with JP Morgan.
JP Morgan, yeah, basically JP Morgan, like Chase banks primarily, and other Chase bank partners, right?
Got
so
it.
like loan companies and like other financial services companies.
Can I ask a question? I'm sure this question has been asked so many times, and I feel like maybe you guys can explain this.
Okay.
What would prevent anything or anyone or any system or any leader from stopping everything one day, like completely through the Bitcoin, the digital world?
What would prevent Bitcoin from being what would stop Bitcoin or what?
So if you're putting your money, of course, so we have the fear of having our money in the bank, right?
Okay.
And because one day, and they're transitioning it to be electronic, right? So one day, I feel like they can just disappear with all that. Whoever's in charge of whatever is happening above the banks.
So in banks, yes. With most major cryptocurrencies, it cannot happen. We'll get into some cases where it could happen because that's going to bring in the Worldcoin into discussion. JP Coin is one of those coins where they can just increase or decrease the total supply, and there's a admin somewhere that can control sorts of things.
Okay.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, other major coins that you've heard of, the laws of physics prevent that from happening.
Okay. So I'm asking the question because now that we're getting JP Morgan involved,
Right.
or they've entered the world of whatever, I mean, what's going to keep everything from being taken?
So distributed ledger technology, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, it all exists on a spectrum of decentralization. And when you have something that's sufficiently decentralized like Bitcoin, no single administrator has the power to create new supply or reduce supply.
Okay.
Which means there isn't any danger of the rug getting pulled out from underneath you in terms of what you know to be true about this particular network.
So
or
it's literally the law of physics. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think here it's important to make the distinction between permissionless blockchains, which is what Bitcoin is, and private blockchains. So
Okay.
the big difference is permissionless blockchains, there's no one central authority. The whole network of computers controls it and allows for, decisions to be made. That's a permissionless blockchain versus a private blockchain is one in which there is a central authority or a couple central authorities who have the say in what is allowed to happen on the blockchain. They can do exactly what you're talking about, shut down all the transactions, hold people's money, rug pull people, but in most cases it won't happen. And so I'm assuming with JP Morgan, they're using a private blockchain.
That's what I was
So
asking.
they can control everything. And that's what we're going to see happen with a lot of institutions adopting, blockchain technology and using cryptos in applications similar to what JP Morgan is doing. And the reason that is because they don't want retail people like me and you to go on it and have control over the transfers that banks are doing, which makes sense, right? Retail shouldn't even have a say well, you could debate this, but anyway, retail should not have a say in how the banks are transferring money in between each other. And if you put somebody like me and you in it, we'll just disrupt the flow. It won't work. It won't be an efficient system. So they make it private so that they can have control, but more so that the system is efficient, costs less than what their current system is, and increases scalability and productivity by more than what they could do in traditional systems.
Yeah. And of course, this is a question from someone who's still learning. Like
Absolutely.
It's because, I mean, we think about it on a daily basis with our banks, with our money, with, our everything is electronic. Everything is electronic.
Yeah.
We don't know where anything is coming from or where it's really going. So it is a fear.
For sure.
So, and then you multiply that into those that don't really understand the digital world, we can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
So...
I think it's good though. I think it's like a good balance because when I hear you ask that question, in my mind, I'm like, this is a perfect educational opportunity, which, I do education. And so it's like for our viewers, I think a lot of people are in a similar boat as you are. And with Mark and I, we can talk about this stuff all day, not realizing that a lot of people need this extra clarification. And for me personally, I like giving the clarification because it demonstrates to myself that I know what I'm talking about and that I can be confident when I'm making theories on this kind of stuff and assumptions that I know that these are probably more right than wrong. So I don't mind it. I love it.
I'm just the average Joe. So, Jane. I'm not Joe. I'm Jane.
Could be Joe if you want to.
I don't want to be Joe. So Hill, don't.
Don't change the title.
Okay.
Yeah, and to get into further down the rabbit hole here. And bring in the other topic, Worldcoin. So to back up and talk about Worldcoin for a second, the guy who created OpenAI, ChatGPT, Sam Altman, is also behind this project called Worldcoin, which aims to both create a UBI type, everybody gets paid in a world where jobs no longer exist, can survive, and also tries to help create a uniquely addressable entity without sacrificing personal information, right? So to do that, he has a giant orb scan your eyeballs, and then he gives you crypto for it, right? So the people who scan your eyeballs are called, and I'm not making this up, orb operators. It's really starting to sound...
This is like a dystopian straight out of Black Mirror.
So the news this week is that orb operators...
I can't.
are no longer going to be paid in USDC, but they're going to be paid in Worldcoin now. Wow. And they're issuing 134 million new Worldcoins to fund this shift in economics.
That cannot be legal. What?
To issue new Worldcoins?
No, sorry, to pay your employees to not give them the choice?
Well, they have the choice of if they want to work there. Don't forget that one.
Oh, okay, come on.
It's a global right to work planet.
Jesus.
Look, man, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with your theories. All I'm saying is this is the reality of the world. And I don't even understand why. How is there value to these new minted tokens? There can't be unless there's
a market value for Worldcoin.
Well, there's a market value, but now you're entering 130 million token that completely dilutes the entire pool of liquidity. So if I was a worker, number one, I'd quit for sure, or I would negotiate a great situation for myself. But number two, I agree with Sohail on this. I mean, it makes no sense why somebody would want to work for these coins because it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum. I would work for that any day of the week. But with newly minted tokens, I mean, this kind of makes you think about the bigger problem with cryptos. Like, where is the value derived? If everybody has a coin, every company has a coin, and they can just mint it and do whatever they want with it. Like, this is where I think a lot of people who don't understand crypto get lost, because even I myself, who am in crypto, I'm lost. I don't understand. They're minting 134 million tokens, you said? Something along those lines? That's a lot.
So the total circulating supply, total max supply of Worldcoin prior to this news is 10 billion Worldcoin. So that's not a huge amount of inflation. So
10 billion before they minted these new ones.
134 million, yeah. So,
So
you're,
now
you're
it's-
talking about like a 1% inflation rate. Well, 1.34%
Yeah.
inflation rate. If this, the way this is being discussed in the article is true, it's not clear. And this could, because this is a let me see if this was a crypto outlet that was reporting this or not. So this is The Verge. They might have gotten this wrong. They're saying it issued 134 million Worldcoin, but they're reporting the reporting total supply has not changed on Coin Market Cap. So I'm wondering if it's been like released from an internal fund. Either way, it's going to cause some amount of inflation, but it's not.
What is the market cap of the coin itself?
That's what I was pulling up to. So the total market cap is fully diluted 18 billion.
18 billion.
Yeah, 18 billion.
Wow. And one could assume that's probably all like VC money. 18 billion, that's a ton of money.
Yeah, it's almost entirely VC money, I would assume. Like,
It's
you know,
They must be
Like-
really bullish on this idea.
well, I mean, it's Sam Altman, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, everybody was bearish on this idea in crypto, up until ChatGPT took the world by storm last year.
Right,
And that's the only reason anybody's talking about Worldcoin.
right.
Verge would never cover this if it wasn't for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Verge would be like, this is another shitcoin. Like,
Right.
nobody cares.
Right.
So,
I'm just trying to find the comparison to my world of, the digital, like it's too much. It's just too much. I'm just learning. I'm going to learn.
so here's the comparison.
Like, see, he's going to tell me.
So, if you followed, like, let's say American history, right? So you talk about like the westward expansion when they were like building the railroads, and connecting America, and they would have these mining towns, and they would have company general stores, and like basically the mining town was all owned by the same company that operated the mine,
Okay.
and you get paid in something called company scrip.
Okay.
Right? Company script was, you could use it anywhere in that town. You could go to the saloon, buy a drink with it, go to the general store, buy some food with it.
Gotcha.
But you weren't getting paid in US dollars. So you lived in an entirely company owned and operated life experience.
A simulation.
Not necessarily, well, I'm sure there's a Westworld tie-in somewhere, but you're basically just locked in. It's capitalistic feudalism, right? Worldcoin is basically, now the relationship to Worldcoin and their orb operators is these are people that have paid, probably like they're basically like masternode operators for Dash or something like that.
Yeah.
They've paid to be an orb operator, and they're on a trusted, they were vetted and whatever. So it's more like an organization than an individual. But still, these orb operators are no longer getting paid in USDC. Now there is a thriving market for Worldcoin, right? You can go to any exchange. There's like, I don't know, 30 or so exchanges listed, which gives you a little bit more liquidity than a company script mining town would have. But you're still getting paid in company script, which was something that we outlawed in America for obvious reasons.
The question is whether or not you should sign up to be an orb operator.
I mean, the whole
Well, I'm not
concept
qualified,
is
so-
bananas.
So I'm okay now.
Why are you not qualified?
We're still learning the process of how everything functions. So
All you have to do is scan your eyeball.
I'm not scanning any. I don't know
Alright.
what they're putting in there.
No, I wouldn't do it. There's no
I don't know
chance.
what they're taking out.
I'm sure the money they give you is like
It's like $30.
30 bucks.
That's
30 to
it?
$50 for every eyeball that like if you're an
I
individual
only got
getting your
2
eyeball scanned, you
eyeballs.
get 30 or $50, something like that.
An eyeball.
So 60.
Do they at least do it per
$60.
eyeball? Or?
No, it's $15 per eyeball.
Unbelievable.
So you just start collecting eyeballs.
I guess that adds up
There's-
though when you have, let's say, even 1 billion people using their platform, which
Yeah.
they don't, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
adds up, right? It's not nothing.
And we've talked about this before. The goal for Worldcoin is laudable, right? Because there are so many differing standards for what identity is. The American and Western standard for identity is inherently flawed, meaning you have to give 25 points of data to prove that you're a human, right? But what if I was born in a village in the Philippines that doesn't have government IDs, and I can't interact with the Western world at all? I can't interact with 4/5 of the population because I don't have an ID that was government recognized. So having some sort of uniquely addressable identity that isn't dependent on a bank account and a driver's license is a laudable goal. I just think he looks like a freaking supervillain with this particular plan.
And what is the particular plan?
The particular plan is scanning eyeballs with an orb.
Why do you think that they went that path?
Because he's a
Supervillain.
Silicon Valley, insulated from reality, venture capitalist entrepreneur. And they think all these ridiculous ideas that would, it's not even, supervillain elevates it too much. He's like a Austin Powers villain.
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Now I have that engraved in my head.
But the reality is, people are doing it.
But
right?
I mean, just what I was saying, how come we can't say that about other individuals?
I'll definitely say it about Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's building a rocket. That is a plot from Austin Powers.
Yeah. Elon Musk is too.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay, so
I mean, they live in a different world.
My 9-year-old today was like, I was taking him to school, and he was like, if Elon Musk has so much money, why can't he just like pass it out? I was like, sweetie, even if he passes out to every person on this earth, he'll still be okay. And he's just like, how is this even legal? It's just like, well,
scary.
It is scary.
I can talk to your kid a little bit.
Can you? Because he's scared for us. He's preparing for a lot of other things. Poor kid.
Yeah. So, anyway, I don't know.
Crazy.
If we beat to death Sam Altman. That's
we will continue to beat him to
pastimes.
Death. It is. It is. He's an interesting character. I mean, I don't really know what to think of him. I like ChatGPT. Great product.
Yeah.
Claims they're not making money, but they're for sure making money one way or another. And I don't know, this Worldcoin thing is pretty spooky. It's almost Halloween. I'll go as a Worldcoin for Halloween.
I think everything is spooky right now.
I'll be an orb operator as my costume.
Just be the orb.
I'm scared to go to the doctor. I think everything just feels, I don't know.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here because I always do this with myself. But it's like, I don't know. I don't ever foresee myself doing anything that could be, criminal or whatnot. Obviously,
wait, what did we do yesterday? We'll tell you after you tell it. Go ahead.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's things I don't want to be known and there's things I don't care about. But like who cares if they have your data? I mean, it's inevitable. It's like, I can't even fight it, right? Like if I want to use any application, they're going to tell me basically they're hacking my phone and taking anything and everything that they possibly can.
Right.
And in one sense, it's like, okay, this is super invasive. And like, obviously I really would prefer not to have that. But like, what's the big deal at the end of the day?
The big deal.
Yes, I was waiting
I will
for that
tell you
reaction.
the big deal. So there are disenfranchised populations. I'll pick one at random. Trans populations.
Okay.
Right? By interacting or even broader, 50% of the population, women.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you make it a little bit more relatable?
So it's a more broadly relatable. Women who maybe want to have reproductive freedom, right? They don't want to go to prison for taking birth control. Certain states in America have really bizarre rules about what birth control is allowable. You can't have like the morning after pill or something like that. There are menstruation tracking applications that share data along the app store lines.
Which is, honestly, that is a very good conversation. And it is absolutely true because I have a really good friend who owns this feminine hygiene company, and she's doing very well. And the first thing we encourage each other is download the app, follow, see when your menstrual cycle starts, and you're giving all this information. And of course, they're pulling from your phone, right? Mm-hmm. And this is absolutely true. Now, turn around, say someone does get pregnant, and they don't have the choice or freedom because they live in a certain area. You're right. But it is like, I was thinking like him until you brought up something that's extremely relatable, right? I was like, who cares if they have all my data? But it is actually very disturbing.
Right. And even if you don't use one of those apps, this is a story we covered at Silicon Angle almost like 15, 20 years ago. There's a Remember that shirt that I wear? It says, "I like big data and I cannot lie." The back of the shirt says Splunk, which is a big data company. So they were the big data company for Target. I think they probably still are. As one of their big banner clients, and they went around trying to quash this story, but we were the ones that reported on it. It's still up on SiliconANGLE. There was a girl. They were using predictive analytics. There was some girl, teenage girl, still living at home that was in their predictive analytics thing, and they would send you coupons for things they thought you were going to buy based on purchase history and activity, right? And she was in the rewards program, whatever, so she was getting all those good coupons. And they found out that she was pregnant based upon what her purchase history was, and it matched other expectant mothers.
Oh my God.
Sent her coupons for all this like pregnancy and expectant mother stuff before she even knew she was pregnant, and certainly before her parents knew she was pregnant.
Wow, I
That's
never
wild.
even paid attention.
So you don't. Even if you don't have one of those tracking applications for your cycle, there might be other patterns in behavior from your search history, from your browsing history, from things you hit like on TikTok, that predictive analytics could figure out. Things about you that could expose you in a way that you don't expect.
That answered our question.
Well, let me keep playing devil's advocate. So other than it being extremely invasive, which is horrible, I mean, what's the big deal? They know I'm pregnant. I'm getting more
But
coupons
say-
for my pregnancy.
Right, but like for example, Texas, you're not allowed.
Right.
We don't have any abortion rights here. So if I go to another state to get an abortion,
And then
they
you
can
come-
go back.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it takes a person to say to turn me in.
Yeah.
A friend or someone.
very
You know what I
scary.
mean? So that's scary.
So it's parallel. So here's the specific way they would get you, right? It's called parallel reconstruction. They've done it, like the most famous case that we've talked about on here, they've done that with is Ross Ulbricht, right? They parallel reconstructed him, pinned him for doing, NSA had all this data, but NSA is not allowed to spy on American citizens. So they told the FBI and the DEA that, hey, he's doing the Silk Road thing. You can figure it out if you just do a parallel reconstruction. Now he's serving double life plus 40.
Yeah.
Right? So they can get access to your data by doing data requests or simply buying it from Facebook and Google from their ad platform.
Yeah.
And then they can say, okay, well, it looks like she definitely was pregnant, but like it's been more than 9 months and didn't have the baby, so an abortion happened. So they can do parallel reconstruction and figure out, oh, when did she leave the state? Well, we can look at our maps history.
Yeah.
See, she drove to Oklahoma.
That's scary.
That's freaky.
That's scary. Or she could have miscarried.
Right. But, it's
Stress.
They want to get
Bills.
you for abortion.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Yeah,
get
if
you.
they're gonna. But that's God. They need to focus on other things. There's too many things happening in the world for them to go worry about who's not having a child
But that's
or who's having a child.
But it's always going to be something, right?
It's always going to be something.
So if we decide to get sane about reproductive rights in America uniformly, we're going to be insane about some other silly things, and it's good because you always have to other somebody in politics.
One of my favorite movies of all time, and even to this day, is The Truman Show. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Of course.
Have you seen it?
I have not. I know what it is.
It's older,
Yeah.
but it might be older than you. How old are you?
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
But
2000.
It's kind of like the Barbie movie.
I didn't see the Barbie. No, it is. Well, I didn't see the Barbie movie.
Kind
I'm
of.
just trying to give Mark something to relate to.
Thank you, Soto. Wow.
Dang.
Thank you.
Dang. But I feel like it was kind of professed. Like
Yeah.
it was just and I was a kid when I saw that. I was just like, this is too real.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
real.
the way I see it is it's inevitable, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. But I'm going to be honest, if I get ease of access, if I need to use maps and it's like you got to sign all this before you use it,
I don't. Do you do it?
I'm probably going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to do it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about everything that
yeah.
I've ever logged
like,
in.
thinking about it differently, though, in this aspect, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to want in 20 years, and what if in 20 years.
Right.
Something I do think about a lot, though, is what I post on social media.
Yeah.
What I comment on, what kind of comment, who I comment on, any interactions on socials. That is the biggest one I am always aware of, because I know one day, as your following grows and as our
Scared of being canceled. Mark.
cancel culture grows, I am definitely scared of being canceled, not because what I do I think should be canceled, but because the social media age is so focused on this kind of these kinds of like initiatives where people are just super canceled and shamed. And the way I think about it is like, when people used to shame people back in before technology, it would be somebody walking the streets and people would be, you know, all around them shaming them. Now imagine doing that.
Social media is dangerous, and it's being done. It's currently being done, and that's going to lead us to the next topic.
Well, the issue is you can't learn your lesson anymore, right? So this goes back to everything we were talking about with Dunbar's number and how large scale social media platforms are a disaster for humanity. When in the old example of being shamed in the town square, you learn your lesson that behavior is not socially acceptable. You move one town over, and then you can, you know, rebuild your life.
Yeah.
There is no one planet over from Earth.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I think this is extremely damaging, especially for men, because there are a lot of situations where famous people who maybe, you know, speak out against certain things or have certain agendas that they talk about, where you can see there's a clear pattern between accusations made about these men and the things that they talk about and the agendas that they spread. And so I just think it's a very powerful tool.
You're basically saying there's like a chilling effect on that type of speech, or is it?
I'm saying that on social media particularly, the environment and atmosphere around cancel culture and shaming people is extreme, and it is more extreme than anything that would happen in person, because people
aside from like fake accusations or whatever, just the concept of people not being able to have rehabilitation goes against, I mean, it kind of falls in line with how we treat our actual legal system, but it goes against, I think, our philosophical inclinations as, I think, at some point as Americans, but I don't know how long that's been. Maybe not, maybe never. And that's why.
I think if I'm understanding this correctly, what I think is it doesn't allow the ability for someone to fuck up and say, I fucked up, I'm sorry, like, let's move forward. It's like, you fucked up, you are done. Whether it was right, whether it was wrong, whether it's true or not, the culture that we have, because of technology, because of social media, it's just so extreme. There's like it only continues to progress more aggressively every year. You know?
So this is one of the main reasons of why I'm very adamant about teaching my son as an athlete what you're representing or how you're representing yourself. And you're representing yourself as a business, a brand, a student athlete. That
Everything.
One time you mess up, they're looking.
There's no
They're gonna go.
Error.
There's a paper trail.
I mean, how many NBA players right now are being accused of this stuff?
I mean, the story of Kyrie, the story of
Kobe, LeBron.
It's always something. Like LeBron can't. But I'm trying so hard, Mark. I'm trying so hard not to get into the conversation of the social media war that's happening with Palestine. And Israel. It is evident. It is in our face. And it's now, imagine what's happening to children. You know what I mean? Or just to me, like, even, you know, you're saying it's hard for males. It's also very difficult for women because you're automatically viewed as something.
For sure.
So
I agree.
like you're
and that happened because of social
thrown
media.
off with OnlyFans. I'm just like, I would never get on an OnlyFans platform because I have an obligation outside of my work, which is my children.
So let me this is great. I love talking about this stuff. I know this is non-tech, but I love
it.
This
It is absolutely tech.
Well, it is, right. No, wait, it is. What am I saying? I just love the philosophy behind it because I think that it has generational damage in the sense of people's understanding of duty, of dignity, what it means to be human, and also, like, the way I see life, it's like your ancestors survived all these things for you to be here today, and it's like almost, you know, I'm going to stop myself.
No, don't.
I would much rather someone have an OnlyFans and do sex work in a safe or have their own like well, OnlyFans is predatory, but like Fansly or something, you know, whatever, then to have like my kid or mom go on YouTube and be like a family vlogger or YouTube prankster, like that's where the dignity to me is.
Yeah, and
Well, it's gone.
whenever
wait,
you say
I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what he said. He's saying
I agree with him, honestly, that exploitation, like, so there's a whole class of content creator that like it's their kids are the subject matter.
Oh, I
right?
understand. But hold on. In any case, it's
I don't
exploitation.
Understand what you guys, I don't know what you guys are
Okay,
saying. I don't
so
understand.
there's people who use vlogs and they exploit their little kids because their kids will get views. So they don't care about the child's, right? Like there are family vloggers, like a whole family will vlog and whatever. And the kids grow up in an environment where everything is super artificial because what their parents are doing is to inflate their attention,
Right.
And their
I was
So how are
saying
we comparing that
I
to
was saying
OnlyFans?
I agree with Mark in terms of dignity and just ethics when it comes to that kind of exploitative content, and kind of saying it is not charitable or just to throw in people with OnlyFans in there. That's a separate. That's
no,
not
I mean, I was using as example for me. I'm not
I was
saying,
talking to Mark, I think,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Mark
No,
was-
but it was more of the conversation of how damaging it is to our personal brand, and how people are going to go.
It pigeonholes you for sure.
Yeah,
like
so-
you're only going to be that type of content creator unless you are like Mia Khalifa or something where you can get bigger than where you were. Right?
But that's not true because
that's not true.
She's still
anymore.
viewed in a specific way.
Exactly. It will
Like-
always go back to
but
those days
her
of
fun. I mean,
career.
like she doesn't make money from that anymore. Like she may be seen as that's where her career originated. Like Jenna Jameson's another example from an older age. Jenna Jameson transcended sex work. Like she became she was like a novelty actress but
Well, a lot of
but she
people-
made a ton of
I mean,
money.
Nicole Kidman.
yeah,
not
like a
Nicole
lot of
Kidman.
people
I'm sorry.
go
What's her
beyond
name?
that, of course.
Right.
I'm just okay.
Well, this is
what
a
I'm
conversation
saying-
of
But
like sex
that's-
work is a profession, and it's like any profession, you need skill and talent. If you're saying that you're already famous for something, you think it's easy cash flow to throw up OnlyFans, then yeah, that's taken away from sex workers, I guess. But
What?
is that where you're going?
No, that wasn't where I was going. In the
You were talking
beginning.
about
I'm
personal
saying-
brand, right?
Yeah,
So-
I'm saying he was discussing how it is you can be shamed for something, right? And it's automatically tied to your brand and image.
Yeah.
Which is true. So what I was saying, it's hard for women also in that space. It might be easy for some women, but to me, I would never be able to brand or relate something like that to my brand and image and then go back to the Middle East and work. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it could be detrimental for individuals. I will automatically be canceled in the Middle East. You will. I'm very, even with what's going on now, I see a lot of comments, like say it's like a religious post and somebody's commenting a prayer, like a woman is commenting a prayer. They go back to her page and look about how she dresses, and they'll be like, well, you're not an active Muslim, so you can't really say anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's always going to be your it's almost like a resume.
And I think to tie this whole conversation back is right. It's the tech, because if let's say there was no phones and no technology, I think it still applies. I think if
Absolutely.
I'm going to use the case that you were using, if a Muslim woman made a prayer, but people in her community and neighborhood knew she wasn't practicing, and that's any religion, right? Christians do that all the time too. I think it all ties back to the conversation that the tech amplifies it so much, and it
100%.
aggressively makes it more emphasized than if this technology wasn't, in existence.
So I mean, this actually brings up another salient in the news topic that we can tie this all back to. So
and this is different than the conversation of the social media war that's happening.
but
to kind of
it's somewhat related.
have sides.
So
Well,
the
yeah.
thing I was going to bring in was Mark Andreessen's Techno Optimist Manifesto that came out a couple weeks ago. It's still being discussed in the news. Did you read it? Oh, okay. So this is I I wish I
thought
had
you
it
were
in front
talking
of me.
about something else. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no. So the Techno-Optimist Manifesto was basically. Have you ever been on Twitter and you see like people put like E/ACC
E/ACC.
like in their name or something like that? It's
Maybe.
ethical accelerationism. It's this
Yep.
So you know what I'm talking about. So
Oh yeah.
So, without going too deep into the history of where this philosophy came from, but the Techno-Optimist Manifesto, Mark Andreessen, obviously big Silicon Valley VC. He's also one of the guys behind A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz. He funds a lot of the Web3 community, a lot of the crypto community. It comes from his fundraising, and his 5,000 word screed that he put out was basically like, technology is going to fix the world. Technology is good. We need to stop worrying about technology and ethics, technology, and we stop putting bridles on technology and just let technology accelerate us towards the utopian future. I mean, tell me that doesn't like fly in the face of everything we just talked about for the
That's
last
very
5-10 minutes.
disturbing. I mean, social media is designed to take your attention away and place you in this world of distraction so you're not paying attention to what's really happening in reality.
Yeah.
Like TikTok. We already had the conversation of what TikTok is, what it means, why it's called TikTok. It's literally designed to take your attention away from everything else you're doing during the
I
day.
never thought.
See, I
Absolutely.
want to, agree with this guy, but when we talk about big data, right, and big data getting in bed with the State Department and legislation,
Big data getting in.
legislation that persecutes women for their reproductive choices or persecutes trans people for even thinking about being trans. If they Google anything, it both becomes like deadly, like it's killing these people, but also how is that going to supplant any kind of grassroots kind of accelerationist, like, oh, we're going to go on Telegram and have a revolution or accelerate? Like, that's just not.
I think I hate to be, as an anarchist,
Man.
I like to
so much.
think that I would agree with most of what Mark Andreessen's
Thanks.
philosophy is, while similarly acknowledging everything that we've been talking about for like the last 15 minutes. There is something extremely detrimental about a lot of the surveillance capitalism we exist in, the ecosystem of surveillance capitalism we exist in. Very detrimental. I think that regulation will only prolong the life of surveillance capitalism because it assumes that it can be fixed, and I don't think that it can be. I think we must rocket past the paradigm that we live in into a new paradigm. We must look at decentralization, because what decentralization does is it doesn't prevent the government from monkeying with your data and doing negative things with your data, but it does give every individual, if in combination with Web3 AI and predictive analytics, it gives every individual the same capabilities as the government. It gives you asymmetric warfare, right? So just like what drones did in actual warfare, right? It reduces the cost. Ukraine is all on the verge of winning against one of the world's biggest superpower in Russia because of drones made out of cardboard that kamikaze Russian troops, right? Asymmetric warfare, right? One of the biggest superpowers in the world, maybe like the third most powerful army or second most powerful army, if you depending on how you calculate it, is losing against a bunch of guys with cardboard drones, right? This is the world that we're possibly talking about, where decentralization and AI enable individuals to have the same power as massive governments and corporations.
All right, so that's a great point. Now I want to make 2 points.
Go for it.
One, in this world of technology, it's very important to, decipher why people say certain things and what the true motive behind their sayings are. Now, as much as whatever is written could be true or false, the reality is this guy runs the biggest tech VC in the world. So his agenda is for sure to continue pushing this tech as much as humanly possible, and this is the most extreme and apparent version of that. He wrote a manifesto saying utopian society, which we all know is impossible. Now, that's my first point. My second point is that there are a lot of things that are probably absolutely true in this manifesto. For sure, it's factually proven that technology has improved humans' lives. I think you can also just as much say it's factually proven it's hurt our lives too. So I think it's just important to consider both sides. This person obviously is only considering one side because that's their reality. They're very disconnected from the average person who, lives a normal life, makes an average salary, and has to, deal with the hardships of being an average person. So, of course, that person is so disconnected from that. And so to apply this in all things is very hard to do because, again, where there are, positive benefits, there are probably just as many equal disadvantages.
I don't know. I mean, that may be, I think that prevaricates too much.
Okay.
You can't, we need to, I'm not saying I completely agree with Mark Andreessen.
Of course not.
I would say that we need to look at the data and see without a doubt, humanity would not have survived without technological advancement.
No.
This is the beginning of this is the premise, right?
Yeah.
The premise is like technological advancement allows humanity's survival. Like if you're talking about just like fertilizer technology, like we would have died off as a species if we hadn't invented better,
So there's a lot of conversation about there's a lot of what?
I don't know.
I was just going to overlay the model.
There, there is civilizations way back then that were
more technologically advanced than we are that were wiped out.
Yeah.
I'm so into that stuff.
So do you think it was wiped out because of this direction that we're going? Maybe.
Just a side note, we need Dina on a podcast with Jess Marshall because he's a huge Graham Hancock.
I am too. I am too. I love that stuff.
Someone makes fun of me and my alien rants.
He's not making fun of you.
But let's talk about ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was an advanced civilization.
Yep.
And the city of Olympus? Olympia?
Atlantis.
What's wrong with me right now? They say
no
it
one
was,
knows.
But do you
there
think...
are plenty of Atlantises throughout. There's an Indian Atlantis.
Mark's over there.
There's one in Georgia. It's Atlanta.
Fuck yeah. America, baby.
I'm just saying this might be, just something to think about, but that would take me there.
Well, specifically what I'm talking about is the synthesis of nitrogen, right? Which is an interesting story that talks to exactly your point. There's a good side and bad side to technology advancement. You know the story?
No.
So the guy who invented the process that allows us to have fertilizer that allows us to produce enough food to sustain the population on the planet. We would have died off at like 5 or 4 billion people until this happened because we could not produce enough food.
Wow.
He's also the guy who invented Cyclone B, which you know.
What is Cyclone B?
Oh, you don't? It is what they used in the Holocaust to gas the Jews.
Oh.
Same guy.
Okay, this conversation just went the other direction.
Right. Well, it's a perfect object lesson that talks about everything we've talked about at this table for like the last half hour, which is to say that the good and the bad of technology. You cannot say unequivocally that you got to accelerate technology and will solve the problems, but the same thing that hurts us may also help us.
Yeah.
Because we live within certain paradigms.
Correct.
The technology is the technology.
Right.
Cool. All right, so let's not talk about let's not invoke Godwin for the rest of this conversation. Let's talk about Cynthia Loomis because she's gotten away with not being addressed.
The good and the bad, the duality.
Here we go.
The duality of man. Okay, so this is going to be dicey for you given your day job, perhaps.
Which we won't mention. For now.
I don't know.
I'm already doxed.
Is Lee watching? I don't know.
No.
So Cynthia Loomis, I've talked about on the show many times. I met her in Miami a couple of years ago at Bitcoin Miami. Has traditionally been a very pro-crypto senator, a good advocate for cryptocurrency and blockchain and Bitcoin. Of course, we talked last week about Senator Warren's allegation that $84 million went through crypto to fund Hamas's campaign of terror. Turned out that was not true. the company that she cited, the analysis company that she cited was called Chainalysis. They came out moments later and said, "No, we never said that. That's
no,
not
I
actually
think the
true."
company was Elliptic.
Chainalysis was also cited in the letter, and they came out and refuted her allegations
Of course they did.
immediately.
They were false.
Right. So this is from the Senate banking hearings that were invoked as a result of this letter.
The Wall Street Journal recently reported that Hamas and Palestine Islamic Jihad, since 2021, have received roughly $130 million in crypto financing via offshore exchanges and platforms like Binance. It's important to note that these figures are disputed, and per independent analysis that was released just this week, could be overestimated by as much as 99%. The data analytics firm cited in this Wall Street Journal report has even disputed the estimates that were reported, stating that there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas fundraised anything close to this $130 million reported. Make no mistake, any such funding is unconscionable and should be addressed in a thoughtful, targeted way in order to choke off these terrorists. But we should do this without pushing the crypto industry overseas. In this case, we need a scalpel, not a sledgehammer.
Okay, so that's the whole thing. But if you flip back to that previous video, if you can, just like, yeah,
The Wall Street
so
Journal
just pause it real quick. See that little blonde hair on the right-hand side of the screen?
Yeah,
That's Cynthia
that's her,
Loomis.
right.
Right. She's sitting next to the guy citing the facts that's refuting Senator Warren's allegations. And then today, this morning, she issues a call on Twitter and on letterhead to the press from her office calling for the criminal prosecution of both Tether and Binance, specifically named in this little vignette. What's going on with our girl Cynthia?
I'll tell you exactly.
Please.
There's these things called curtains. And behind these fine little curtains, is a lot of dollars. Lots
Thank
of dollars.
you. I was just gonna say,
And
did
some
she get
some
paid?
dollars shifted from the left side to the right side, and she went where those dollars went.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
And that's as simple
Case
as
closed.
everyone else that's going on with the propaganda that's going on right now.
So let's do a little bit of self-promotion here.
Which, by the way, before I stop this rant, because I'm very passionate about it, it's known that Wall Street Journal is a media source that has spread misinformation countless times.
Specifically with the SBF thing.
And they are the main source for this. And they have caused a complete horrible view on crypto because of this one article that states all this money went to Hamas, which we now know was completely false, which we now know on Twitter they are being shamed, which we now know because of Twitter and social media, cancel culture is coming after them aggressively.
Thank you.
Case closed.
I like you because he can describe it very well. But I mean, I personally don't want to get into it because there's so much on my end that I can say in regards to the social media war and what's happening and how they're going to direct things and shame communities and religions and just to make it go in the direction they want. It is an agenda. It's a propaganda. And honestly,
We're all pawns.
We're all pawns, but the world is seeing it. And you're seeing it through numbers, analytics. You're seeing it through data. You're not seeing it through whatever they can hide behind the curtain, right? So
hopefully
it's there.
So Senator Loomis,
I want this clip.
Senator Loomis is going to be in our immediate vicinity in about a month.
Should ask her.
Yeah, I want to have her on the merge and talk about it.
That's going to take a lot of paperwork.
I'll stand outside in the green room and watch.
Well, I feel like she has to be at. I don't want to make it a hostile interview, but I want to ask. You're one of the figurehead advocates. So to me, there's a few things going on here, right? I can see this as she's a Republican, right? As our most pro-crypto senators and representative. There's this thing that's going on, like this populist America First thing that's happening with the tech industry within the Republican Party, where they've been aggressively pursuing against TikTok. They've been aggressively going after Huawei and Lenovo for years.
Anything overseas, you mean?
Yeah, anything that's a tech company that's not American, they come up with some reason why. Oh, we got to ban it, right? The TikTok ban being the most obvious one for most of the people that are
They
watching.
want control.
And The two companies that she names are Binance and Tether. She doesn't mention USDC
Right.
and Coinbase.
Of course.
Which are, if Binance and Tether are culpable, USDC and Coinbase have to be just as culpable.
Yeah.
That did not come out of her mouth. Why is that?
Which
We
is
know why.
more reason that, come on now.
You know, somebody asked me this question yesterday about lobbying. I explained to them what I do, and they were like, well, how does it really work if the industry is being created and the people who are creating it are making the laws for it? AKA the people who are lobbying the government are the people who are the key industry players.
Mark,
That's
I
how
like
it works.
you.
I mean, that's you
what
know,
it is.
At the end of the day, it's all corruption. There's no other way to put it. Like, it's really unfortunate, and like you could wish that, you know, I can go down a rabbit hole. I watched another thing yesterday about the World Economic Forum,
Okay.
and they quite literally said how they're creating a CBDC to basically control people. It's literally in plain daylight. They're saying, don't worry, it will be under regulation, which, by the way, those are the same people who make the regulation. Oh, and by the way, the lady who's on camera that you're watching right now, you didn't even vote for her. Who the hell is she? And that's where I dropped the mic.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
It's
world.
no longer the control of media. Now it's just harder for them to fight the social media war of what's going, because a lot of it is overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are seeing it. It's in our face, and what's happening is there's fear, but we go back to the education part of it. Like, we need to be educated on why things are happening. And what can we do? Well, we need to figure that out, but it has to be in a
safe way.
In a safe way. It can't be this against that.
media literacy is very important.
Yes.
Like being able to, as an individual, discern when you are being lied to is it's just like, because there's like statistics and lies, or damn,
and you
like
walked me through it.
Yeah, but like everybody, like everybody's got an angle. That's literally part, like,
part of human nature.
Well, no, it's when they teach you journalism, you have to have an angle for your story.
Yeah.
Like, so the question is where are the journalists getting the angle for the story? And if is the organization telling them these are the angles that you're allowed
100%.
to have? No, but I'm speaking broadly here. I'm not. I know that that's the thing.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, as individuals, we have to look at the sources, and we have to look at, even when it's an independent journalist, we have to look at the source. Where do they live?
Yeah.
Is this somebody reporting on the Ukraine that lives in New York City?
Right.
Maybe that's not a good source.
Yeah.
Let's
And
find
to be
somebody
honest,
that lives in
even
Ukraine talking about Ukraine.
sometimes people that do work in me, and I'm guilty of it, because we go back to our basic human instinct of our frustration, our emotion of like, how could this be said, or how could they say this about me, or whatnot? You know what I mean? So I'm guilty of it. I've sent you videos, and you've given me a moment to sit back and be like, let me analyze it. And then I'm seeing huge influencers sharing videos, sharing misinformation, and they have followers, and that's what's dangerous. I think Sean King just came out with something where he's claiming that Israel is faking his involvement in him sending money and supporting Israel secretly. So they came out with this fake video and they posted it, right? And so Sean King went online and was like, this is a fake video. I did not do this. They're trying to discredit me because I have such and such million followers. So now we're playing very dangerous games with the audience, because the audience does not have any media literacy. And I'm guilty of it, because we're running off of emotion. We're running off of what we're seeing. We're running off, like, we're scared, right? So we're going to react. And the one thing you said to me was, I cannot allow myself to get into the conspiracy side of things, because I would have to sit down and analyze it. And you're seeing a lot of journalists now, they're following their job. They're following their headquarters. If you have a CNN reporter in Gaza that's from the U.S., an American headquartered individual, she's coming in with her own agenda. And we know that. But what's frustrating is, how do we get the other side? And this is where the issue is. The social media war right now is failing. So what's happening is they're shutting stuff down. They've shut my account a couple times. They've shut journalists. They went after press and media overseas because they cannot allow things to come out. But to be honest, there's misinformation on both sides.
Yeah,
There's
well, and
It's what the good
misinformation on
old
both sides.
Twitter community notes are for, huh?
sure.
Which have gone better.
No, I'm-
which have gone
Yeah,
better.
they've gotten somewhat better. Yeah, I would
I
say
said
but
that facetiously. but-
from a
Thank you
journalistic
for clarifying.
from a journalistic perspective, though, there shouldn't be both sides.
Yeah.
From a journalistic perspective,
There should be an objective.
there's the truth.
There
Yeah.
is no, you can't, because we go back to people are getting paid to say things. There are influencers out there that have been offered money
But this is my point.
to.
Yeah.
Do you
This-
understand?
this is
There
my-
is no objective.
Well, there is objective. It's just not being represented because the system of media that we have, surveillance capitalism, large scale social media. It's not that it's corrupt. It's because
corrupt.
No, to say it was
It's
corrupt,
legally corrupt.
it would imply that there is a truthful core to it that got turned black
What?
or but there was never there was no aim for truth. It was designed to make money and turn
I see your
the
point.
readers into
Right now, if you go on ChatGPT right now, so if you can do it, if you pull up Palestine, see what it says, and then if you pull up Israel, see what it says. It is structured right now in a specific direction. There is no objective. There's no middle ground.
But reality has an objective truth.
Us?
No, reality. There like if I say,
It's raining.
it's raining and the sun is shining, there's not a cloud in the sky, I am objectively wrong.
But
Right, so-
that is safe to say. That is safe to say if everybody had media literacy, common sense, right? It's safe to say that. But it's right now, nobody has any need to figure out what's really going on.
Yeah,
Right?
I think you guys are making two different points. All
Are
he's
we?
saying is
Maybe.
there is, at the end of the day, an objective reality in which there's something that is true and there's something that is false. And I think what your point is on social media currently, there isn't the objective. There is no objective. There's no truth. There's no
truth,
right or wrong.
Yeah,
It's
but,
just
but this is my exactly my
That's
point.
what I'm saying. No, you're right. Thank you for
you guys
clearing
are
that up.
both on
We're
the
both
same
correct.
page. Yeah.
So
Just
what?
to
Yeah,
clarify.
the idea here is that there is an objective truth. True journalism that doesn't treat the readers as a product would get to that truth very easily. We do not have a wide scale system currently that that treats readers as anything other than the product to be sold to. And as a result,
Yeah.
everything that comes out of it just is there to reward clicks and views
Yeah.
for ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is the
talking-
first time we're seeing it on such a large scale in terms
it's in
of
our face. You're right.
We've never really had this much exposure to war than now, and it's very easy to get misinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the majority of it is misinformation, and not there's
That-
no sides to this. There's what Mark is saying. There's objective reality where people are dying, and then there's subjective which people should die and which people shouldn't.
I think,
And
Mark,
even-
everyone's just
even-
trying to everyone's a journalist now, just trying to talk about
Right.
video games.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and then even just vocabulary
Yeah.
usage is misinformation. So even I had a conversation with someone even saying the word war, it's not a war. We can't even call it a war. It's asymmetrical. Say it again.
Asymmetric warfare, yeah.
That's
What does that
exactly. It's one-sided.
Ethnic cleansing, genocide.
One-
other words.
one is stronger
you didn't
than
say
the
it,
other.
Tina, I did.
I love the Sohill
I
fading echo
know, right?
in the background.
I mean,
Such
his
a good
voice is
addition.
perfect.
Yeah.
So it's but yeah.
But so if the stuff,
so hard
the
to
stuff
not
that
talk
we're
about it.
talking about here that's going on right now in the Middle East, Ukraine DAO, which I am a DevOps leader in, has been dealing with for the last 2 years specifically, but also going back to the Crimean invasion. And we're talking about genocide, hundreds of thousands of people are dying just at the point of a gun, and atrocities are being committed. I'm not going to
Yeah.
go into the atrocities. It's not
Yeah.
important. But what is important is not important for this discussion. I
Right,
should say.
right.
Yeah.
What is important for this discussion is that the spin is very clear to see in that side because of the Russian Ukrainian has become so closely identified with Republican Democrat politics in America. You can see what type of propaganda people get by how they view the Ukrainian war.
Yeah.
Because there has been such propagandic capture in both Republican Democrat politics, and it aligns so neatly with Ukrainian Russian war that when I saw this propaganda explosion coming in the Middle East, I was like, it surprised me none at all when I would see this person with this opinion and this party affiliation say this mistruth. And vice versa.
That's with anything,
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah,
But, like,
I mean,
that happened even with COVID.
Yeah,
that happened.
absolutely.
I was going to say, like, take out war from this.
Absolutely.
Let's use COVID
But,
as...
Absolutely.
but on the topic of war reporting,
Yeah.
where people, I mean, there was human impact with COVID, but there is significantly more human impact in war. And for essentially half of the electorate in America who is responsible for funding or preventing genocide as the world's police that we are, I mean, for better or for worse, that's what America's role is in the world. When you have half the electorate saying this thing doesn't exist when literally hundreds of thousands of people are dying,
Yeah. Yeah.
it becomes a real problem.
It's just
I heard the
can't be.
snark over there, by the way.
what the
America's police, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I know that's a whole other thing. But like that's the role that America has supposedly chosen for itself, and then we can't even admit to what the facts are internally to even administer that role in a proper way, assuming that we had good aims with that in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof.
Great place to stop.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in one.
So yeah. Anyway, I don't know how we got there from Cynthia Loomis, but here we are.
Here we are. It's funny, though. Like, I
It's
feel like
truth. It's all about truth.
everything we've talked about today, I feel like it's all been, like, interconnected. Like,
Absolutely.
when you were talking about, like, party affiliation right now, I was just thinking about, like, data. Because, like, how do you
Yeah.
find that party affiliation? Well, you look at how this person interacts with posts on social media or what things they interact with online, et cetera, et cetera.
The
So-
real crime is keeping that
Track.
party affiliation. We talk about this, Mark, but it's one party, right? Two parties is the same as one party. Keeping it so narrow that everything we talk about is still such a narrow breadth of philosophical approaches to any of these issues
Yeah.
we're talking about, because
Yeah.
it's captured within the American political
Right.
compass.
Like what relationship does my view on reproductive rights really have to do with the war in Ukraine? But if you look at how that lines up on people's beliefs, it's going to have a very clearly defined line because of that party affiliation, that narrowed pivot point that they have us on. You know, it's very weird. It shouldn't have, those two things should not be related.
I'm
But
going
we
to
can all
recommend,
agree war is, both parties can agree we like war. That's nice.
Sure, but like, you know, should we have war over here or war over there?
Right.
I'm going to recommend everyone, especially you, to go watch The Truman Show.
The Truman
Yeah.
Show.
The Truman
It's
Show.
it's a movie, right?
It's a
It's a
movie
movie.
which
Okay.
starring Jim Carrey.
Premise is this is
I've
not
seen it a
this is
little
not a
bit.
spoiler because it's the very beginning of the show.
Yeah.
The premise is this entire dome, this city has been constructed to be a reality show around Jim Carrey's character,
Yeah,
Truman.
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Everybody knows it's fake except for him, and he's lived there his
You
entire life.
literally just spoiled the movie.
No, that's like
No,
the
it's
premise.
fine,
That's
it's
the
fine.
beginning.
I don't care about spoilers
you have to
either.
watch the
I'll watch
movie
it.
because
Okay,
it's very
Truman Show.
detailed and it's very
Yeah.
Truman Show.
Yeah.
That's next.
Yeah,
and Black Mirror.
Out of bounds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it could be a Black Mirror episode, Truman Show. All right, so we're gonna solve the world's problems next week. We're gonna leave you on this cliffhanger. I have the solution to peace in the Middle East. We're gonna talk about. No, I don't. You still come
Yes,
back next
you
week.
do.
Anyway. Yeah, we do.
We all do. It's actually very simple.
And we're holding on to it until next week. So come back for Merge
And we're
Roundtable.
minting the truth as crypto tokens.
I love it.
Get out of here.
You got to scan your feet.
God help us.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.